Welcome to the Resistance Chronicle. I'm Matt.
I'm Eric.
And today we had an awesome conversation with a couple from Vermont named the Weissmans. It is Brian and Karen Wiseman. And they are a couple of self-sufficient landowners that have farmland, and not much farmland, in Vermont. And they own a mushroom farm on that farmland.
It was fascinating.
Unreal.
How their town, they barter with each other to get goods and services, like world-renowned, world-class cheese grower, cheesemaker.
Yeah.
Was traded them this world-class cheese for asparagus.
Yeah, they talked about how they barter to get things in their town. It's a town of about 900 people, he was saying.
Yeah.
And how they run their mushroom business and grow mushrooms and different homesteading acts and all that. It was awesome. We had a great conversation with them. It was so awesome to hear their outlook and their perspective, and I didn't know where it was going to go or what we'd really be getting into. I wanted to learn about the mushroom business and mushrooms as a medicinal medicine.
And we got into way more than that.
Yeah, we did.
So enjoy our awesome intro.
Sorry, this is all shitty. I'm holding an iPad right now. Yeah, what he said.
It's not a political statement. It's a patriotic duty.
And the editors of great newspapers, such as yours, owe a common obligation to the people.
Freedom is never more than one generation away from extinction. We didn't pass it on to our children in the bloodstream.
What are you people? On dope?
I have come here to chew bubblegum and kick ass. And I'm all out of bubblegum.
But we have some bad hombres here, and we're going to get them out.
Sort of lead the conversation and the questions and the directions you want to go in. We can speak on like a whole.
What do you want to know about?
Whole different number of topics, as deep or as shallow as you want to go. So,
first statement: we are not experts in anything.
Everything we know, we've learned and taught ourselves in the last 10 or 12 years.
Or like other people have taught us.
Or other people have taught us.
It's the kind of stuff where you do it over and over, and every time is different. And you think you're in control. You're like, I got this, and something happens. Yeah. You're like, whoa, didn't see that coming.
Awesome. So
we're not experts in anything we're going to talk about, but we'll whatever you guys want to know, we'll tell you what we know from our experience.
From our own experience, exactly.
So for people watching and people listening, we're joined by Karen and Brian Wiseman. Do I have the last name correct?
Yeah.
Correct.
Perfect. They are farmers from Vermont, homesteaders, and for anybody who's listened to our podcast knows that we've kind of gone from this kind of wondering about what's going on in the world to, okay, now we need to worry about ourselves and one another and our friends and our family, and we really want to start getting into the canning, the growing, the animals, the all the stuff that we can basically say, okay, we don't need to rely on anybody now. We've got each other, and we're going to take care of that.
Mm-hmm.
Can you tell us, maybe Karen, you could start just your story of how you got into where you're at now in Vermont and living the lifestyle that you're living?
We'll start back where you started.
Know. So
you started with a she's a chemical engineer. She went to one of the top engineering schools in the country and was a chemical engineer by trade. And now introduce your background.
So he's right. I worked for about 10 years in pharmaceuticals. Partly in New Jersey for Merck, and then eventually made my way to Lonza and Portsmouth. I grew up in Nashua, so I was born and raised in Nashua. My parents were, from Nashua, and and Brian was from Portsmouth, actually.
Born and raised in Portsmouth. Yep.
And so pharmaceutical engineer, biopharmaceutical engineer, and then Brian and I met.
Then we met.
we've done a lot of crazy things. We ended up moving to Switzerland for a year together to work on a pharmaceutical plant over there for our companies. So that was our foray into, hi, nice to meet you. We want to move to Switzerland together, and we did. We had known each other about 9 months, and anyway, we didn't kill each other. We got married, had kids, all the while working our way up. I was the engineering manager at Lonza in Portsmouth, doing contract biopharmaceuticals and different things. A whole bunch of different things came together at the same time, I guess, for us, and health issues, and what the hell am I doing here on this earth? None of this seems right. None of this feels right. We had 2 little boys at the time, and Brian's got 2 older girls. I've got 2 older stepdaughters, and we got to a point where just nothing about the world seemed good, right? Any of that.
She was working 80 hours a week. She was traveling a lot. And we needed to figure out something different, and it turned out to be something drastic. So we decided to transition our lives. I worked at the same company. I'm not nearly as brilliant as she is. I worked on the business side and procurement, and used to buy big shiny things that Mark inspects now. And so I worked on the procurement side, but we knew there had to be something different. And we rolled the dice, sold everything we had on the seacoast, our house, most of the furnishings in it, and scaled back our life and transitioned to Vermont. Her first job in Vermont, after being manager of really, really large projects, was to manage a compost company where they picked up compost from local folks and fed it to worms and turned it into good garden stuff. And so it was a huge transition.
It was a huge transition. It was we needed something different, and we didn't necessarily know what it was all going to be. We had no idea it would transform into this. Like we wanted to sort of start just being able to grow more of our own food and become closer. We had a friend who had a friend who raised pigs, and we got
when we were in New Hampshire,
when we were in Dover, and so this was one part of it, and we got some pork, some ham steaks, and so I went to cook 2 of them because we all know stuff like ham steak shrinks crazy. So I'll never forget this. I cooked 2 of them, and they didn't shrink at all. And they were amazing. And I can remember both of us sitting at the table going, wait a minute, if this is what real food is like, what the hell are we eating? Yeah. And so that was one of those same thing that came together, like, oh my God. And we just thing systems systems and that don't necessarily they're not good for people.
It's not good. It's not healthy. It's not the way humans. We've adapted to a 40-hour, 50-hour week cubicle lifestyle in the last 50 or 75 years, but it's not normal. People were farming 80, 100 years ago. More people were farming than not, less than 100 years ago. And we've shifted all that, and a lot of the changes are good, but not all changes are good. And we've extracted ourselves from our food supply, and now we're leaving it up to bigger and bigger factory farms and diseases and recalls and listeria and all of these problems with mass-produced food. And we decided that we were going to at least try to get back to the basics, to get back to growing healthy food, and at least showing our children, whether they choose to continue our path or not, at least showing them that there's still an alternative if you're willing to work hard enough to make that alternative a reality. That's the thing. And so far we're only 10 years deep. So we got plenty we got plenty of time to mess all this up. But so far you couldn't pay me to go back to the lifestyle we had before. There's no going back at this point. It's true. Farming is freedom, man.
So hold that thought for 1 second. I'm going to let in another guest.
Oh,
Mark.
I just hit admit. I texted him while you guys were talking to hold on. So hopefully he held on.
I miss Mark.
Hey, how you doing, guys?
What's up?
Your beautiful face.
Okay, Brian's been drinking. If you say it, I have a beautiful face.
People listening who just joined us and wants to remain anonymous.
That's all right, dude. You can be.
Oh wait, hold on.
He's the connection that brought the Weissmans onto the Resistance Chronicle. Oh, there he is.
Hey. There he is. I haven't seen him in months. I miss you, dude.
I had it set up for my usual corporate meetings, so cameras always starts off.
Nice. Yeah, you don't want to pull a Jeffrey Toobin, do you? Hey, Mark, this is Eric. Eric's the co-host of the show. We've been doing this together since November. Mark's a good friend of mine who I was just mentioning, before the podcast. Nothing but good things to say about him.
Nice to meet you, man.
So Brian and Karen just got through with the intro and kind of how they got out to Vermont and their backstory and everything. And I don't know why this the camera. There we go.
That's what farming's like. That's the chicken and pigs.
That was the alarm reminding me to go lock our chickens up.
Put them in lockup for the night.
Alarms now. My life is a Groundhog Day of alarms that go off, and I jump like Pavlov's dog and go attend to some thing that needs attending to.
Now, what do you have on your property? Chickens, pigs?
So right now,
turkey.
So right now, we're in winter is the off season for farmers. So right now, all we have is 9. We're down to 9. We keep getting chickens plucked off. No pun intended.
we live very rurally in Vermont, so it's either fenced chickens, or if they free range, you have to count on a certain number of them.
So we slowly lose our flock of chickens. So we have 9 laying chickens right now, and no other animals. The schedule for animals, we have all of our orders in. So the schedule for animals is we'll have 80 baby meat chicks showing up on May 4th. We'll have 9 new laying chicks showing up on June 4th. We'll have 6 turkeys showing up on July something. And we're not doing pigs this year.
No pig. We do pigs every other year. Pigs are a lot of work.
And enough meat holds you over, right?
Yeah. Oh God. Yeah.
It sort of depends. That's one of the challenges of figuring it out is trying to figure out what your family's going to eat, how big they're getting, and try to tailor when you time your animals. Because remember, there's a standard window. And so like right now we're trying to figure out, we sort of have a deal with 2 other people to go in on 2 pigs that we don't have to raise. But the timing of that is we don't really need that meat because we're still just now getting into this year's meat. But timing it becomes hard. Like I don't really need a pig then. But right now the question is our current pig going to last us this year and next year, knowing I got a second kid who's about to hit puberty,
Who loves bacon?
Oh, so much bacon.
We like bacon.
I do too. What are you doing for crops, vegetables and stuff like that? Is it, before you get into that, is it, just so I kind of get the idea of what the farm is it like a community thing? I'm assuming it is, where you're talking about that much animals. And when I say a community thing, I don't mean maybe just your neighbors, but like other towns and other areas getting together and stuff like that. Is that how it works? I'm just trying
those animals are just our yard. We have a field that's about 1.5 acres. That's our total land. We're not on a huge spread up here. So we have about 1.5 acres of usable land. And on that land, like Karen said, we keep 12 to 15 layers. We do 80 to 100 meat birds. We do turkeys every year and pigs every other year. And we've got 3 other gardens and a barn scattered throughout. So it's just about using the space you have efficiently. We don't eat 80 chickens a year. So a lot of those chickens will go to people who come and help us on Butcher Day. Literally get paid in chickens. Others, we keep 20 or 30 just for bartering purposes, because chickens and wheat are currency in Vermont.
and we do sell some. So there's usually, we do enough so that there's maybe 1 or 2 other families. And usually what we charge them is just enough to cover our animals' feed costs.
Right.
So it's could we charge more? Yeah. Like, is that why we're here? No, we would rather have people in our community. If we can break even, we don't necessarily charge for our time. Here's the deal of where the mindset changes over years. It took us years to start to realize, like, no, we don't have to make a certain amount of money. We don't have to charge for our time if we don't choose to. And we're grateful that we're at a place that we don't have to choose to, and we can, be able to share that with community. And inevitably that comes back to you, it's about a strong community too.
Yeah. More important, and I think she just touched on a broader subject, more importantly than what you can do individually on your own property is how is that connected to the people around you. So whether you live in a city with 1 million people and you form your own small community, or you just by nature live in a very small community like we do, we're very connected, and certain people are really good at certain things, and one person can't do everything. So it's really important to have a sort of a tight-knit community of individuals who are willing to work together and barter and help each other out, and then sort of, rising tide sort of raises all ships sort of attitude prevails. So you either need to, like I said, if you live in a city with 1 million people, you got to create that. But the other option is doing what we did and just going and moving to that, which, it's not the greatest decision for everyone. We've been very lucky because we could have failed as easily as we are happy with our decision. We realize that.
You guys seem super happy, so I think you guys definitely made the right decision. How did you come about the town that you picked? It's Worcester, Vermont, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, actually, you did that. So when we moved, Brian was actually a stay-at-home dad, which is how he taught himself mushroom farming and whatnot. But it was the school systems. You were like studying all the school systems. Yeah. At the time, we had a teenager. So
originally, we based it on the school systems. I had a daughter who was just going into high school. Mm-hmm. Or had just entered high school, 10th grade. Yeah. So it was really important that, she be somewhere where she could, because honestly, moving a 16-year-old from everything they know to nowhere, Vermont, that
didn't go over well.
Moving a 4-year-old and a 2-year-old is real easy because they don't know what the hell's going on. But moving a 15-year-old, 14-year-old girl is a whole other can of worms. So we really wanted to make sure that we were in a decent school system where the high school was good. And the way it works in Vermont is because it's so rural, one high school will host 5 or 6 smaller communities around it. So we sort of picked the high school, looked at which communities fed into that high school, and focused our home search and job search and everything based on that alone, really. Yeah.
Now, how far are you from like Nashua now?
From Nashua?
About 3 hours
north.
from Nashua, yeah.
You're way out there.
So you guys are up north of Montpelier?
We're about
North,
20
yeah.
minutes north of Montpelier, yeah.
Nice, awesome. Montpelier, not Pillier. I always say Pillier. It's Pelier.
It's not. We're not. There.
Okay.
It's the French here, like it is at.
It's way more French in Nashua than it is in Montpelier, Vermont, believe it or not.
So
I should.
self-sufficient.
I can show them the view out the window.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm getting a bad connection. I'm sorry if I might have interrupted you there.
No.
you're good.
I missed your last question.
Oh, no, so you're totally pretty much self-sufficient. You guys have this awesome community. You all barter, you all trade, and it seems like everything is awesome up there. Let's talk about what I really wanted to talk to you guys about, and what we're super interested in too, is the whole mushroom thing. How did you get involved with mushrooms?
And why mushrooms?
And let's talk about the medicinal properties. He told me on one of our podcasts, we had mentioned that you guys were coming on, and this statement has stuck with me. He goes, mushrooms aren't from this planet.
Yeah.
And I'm a
They
first.
well might not be. I mean, there's theories that they've proven that mushroom spores can survive the vacuum of space. So that much they know. So the possibility that mushroom spores could have come from another planet or from another galaxy, it's possible, but they know for a fact that mushrooms can travel on the outside of a spacecraft and come back and be viable. So that's proven.
So they just strapped into the outside of the spacecraft. And
I could find you the link or the article, but there's yeah.
They probably felt like they were right at home once they got to a certain spot in the atmosphere. So Karen, from what I understand and what I've seen on the website, I was taking a look through your about and through the website. I got a bottle of the Neuroimmune came the other day.
That was you.
Yeah, it was me. I've been taking it since I think Tuesday it showed up. And
yeah.
He hasn't got COVID, so it must work.
Yeah. Haven't tested positive yet, so yeah, I'm loving it. I lost my train of thought. So Karen, I do it all the time. You're basically the scientist behind all of this, right? From what I understand, or at least I'm gathering. And then you're the brawn, you're the grower, and
the business part of it,
and doing the hard work. Do I have that right? Explain how this whole
that's absolutely right. Way back in our story when we were in Dover and I was stay-at-home dad for 5 or 6 years, I needed a hobby. So I decided to try to start growing mushrooms at home, and failed miserably for a number of years. It was that was over 15 years ago. And home growing mushrooms was in its infancy at that stage. So most of the information that was out there was YouTube videos and videos from China and Thailand and in foreign languages, and it was just sort of getting pieced together at the time. So it was a fun distraction for a number of years. When we moved to Vermont and started hanging out at farmers markets and going to the local co-ops here, we realized there was no local mushrooms at all in the area we're in. As crazy as that seemed, most of the mushrooms that they had were coming from Pennsylvania, which is where most of the mushrooms in the US are currently grown. So we thought, rather than me going out and getting a real job, which I didn't want to do because I'd had a lot of real jobs for a lot of years, that maybe my real job could just be selling some shiitakes to the tourists at the farmers market on the weekend. So that's kind of the path that we headed down. We just started growing shiitakes and oysters and and you know, whatever strains I was learning at the time, selling them at the farmers market, and we did that for 4 or 5 years, just selling fresh mushrooms. And it was during that period of time that Karen discovered, you know, that some of these mushrooms we were growing to sell,
all of them,
that all of the mushrooms that we were selling so people could put them on pizza were really, if they were extracted in the right way and treated the right way, were highly medicinal mushrooms with real therapeutic values. So that's kind of where her brain started churning again, and started applying everything that she had learned from the pharmaceutical industry into maybe we could produce some really high quality medicinal products. And we're the first, as far as I know, we're the first medicinal mushroom product company in Vermont, and certainly the first organic one. So
that are solely focused on medicinals. There's a lot of other little, like we were a number of years ago, smaller mushroom farms that are doing it, but not as a focus.
Correct.
Yeah.
So we're kind of trying to carve a trail. Even getting our organic certification was a chore,
we actually just got our organic certification last month.
Just last month, but they had never really dealt with a mushroom company before. It was always, you know, typical farming operations with typical sort of crops,
or log growers,
or log mushroom growers, but things that we were unfamiliar to them. So it was a tough year, but we did it.
You guys have morels up there at all?
You can't really cultivate morels, but yeah, we have a pretty good morel season, actually.
And you know enough to go out there and take a look on the ground and know what to pick and what not to pick and all that?
I know some. I am not anywhere near like some of the folks we work with. You know, when we were little, we could get enough medicinals. So the common medicinals where we are, and they only happen to be here because of the type of forest that Vermont has. It only happens a couple places in the world where all the different types of trees come together. So that's why we have so many medicinals in our woods around here. But I can identify all the basic medicinals. And then as you get into the fancier edibles and whatnot, no, that takes, my God, that takes years of study, you know. So the folks we work with now who do all the wild crafting for us, you know, one of the guys has been doing it for 28 years. The other guy's been doing it for 18 years. The other guy does it almost full time for 9 years now. So yeah, like I'm an absolute novice at that. But the good thing is that the medicinals are so unique, and there's so few false versions of them and none of the false versions will kill you. That's the other, you know, there's a few important things. Like if you're going to make a mistake, make sure that nothing you're going to make a mistake with can kill you. So yeah, it just, you know, a lot of studying and stuff like that.
She's also, she forgot to mention it, but Karen's also in her second year of a 3-year herbalism school here in Vermont. So she'll be qualified as a clinical herbalist in another year or so. And we're trying to integrate what's already known about how powerful the herbs in our environment can be with what we're learning and what we're trying to teach people about how powerful the mushrooms can be, and sort of bring all of that together in sort of more of a holistic way, you know.
Do you do any more growing for farmers markets and restaurants? Mark brought back, I think it was like 2 years ago now, some lion's mane mushrooms. He just handed me a brown paper bag and go, here, enjoy that. And
I love Mark.
He's awesome.
I gotta tell you, I was ecstatic when I opened this bag and I saw them, and I sliced them thin. I put a big green egg that I used to cook on, and I fired that thing up, and I seasoned them up with what I call spog, which is salt, pepper, onion, garlic.
Slice them up, saute them.
I put them right over the direct heat, but I got that direct heat so controlled that it just kind of crisped them up and really brought all the flavors out of them. They were incredible. So there's no chance of getting any kind of mushrooms like that from you, huh? You guys are strictly
so for anyone local, because we actually do have a couple of customers, actually some that aren't even that local, that when they come to get their tinctures, they'll try to organize it for when we have mushrooms. Or, there's a local pizza maker in town, we'll let him know. So for our local friends, yes, we do have fresh when we have fresh. Yeah. That's the thing, is with farmers markets, he would have to organize everything to make sure that harvests are on Friday. And when you're working with stuff like mushrooms that either grow quickly, or if they're not ready, they're just not ready. Like, I've gone to farmers market so many weeks with nothing. So it was sort of like, that's one of the reasons we ended up figuring out the whole medicinal line. I mean, we've done a lot of other value-added products. The thing with, little businesses like ours is like, how do you stay relevant? How do you sell shit?
How do you make money?
How do you make money and feed yourself?
If you want to continue to live the lifestyle we live, there's still the bottom line. If you have to earn, you got to make some money.
No, you guys like word of mouth.
Nobody's an island. You got to make.
You guys word of mouth, or do you advertise? Like, how do you get your name out there?
We're getting better at that this
year.
We're
figuring that out.
So
we're figuring it out. Our backgrounds, like we brought a lot to the table with how to grow them and how to do the buildings to grow them and how to take care of stuff and how to make medicines and, figuring out how to do accounting. But the one thing, there's always something that it's just not going to be your strong suit.
We're not great at marketing.
Marketing's it. So the good thing is where we are in Vermont, the whole culture around this state is, we want to support local. So typically when we go into, we were selling at co-ops, wherever we went in, they were like, hell yeah, we want your stuff, but so now we've got,
the state of Vermont's been a huge help this year.
Amazing. So we got into this program called the Vermont Forest and Farm Viability Program. And so,
sorry. So if you see me kind of moving around,
no, go ahead. And it was recommended to us by a couple of different farming friends, and for small businesses that are in agriculture that are trying to figure out how to be sustainable. So it's a grant-based program, and it's funded by like, there's this tiny tax that they put on, I think, all property sales. And the tax ends up going to people like us. So we got a business advisor, and he helped us figure out, like, okay, we have this thing, we think we need to do this medicinal thing. I'm not a business person. Yes, we're in business, but I'm not a business person. I'm not an entrepreneur. I don't even understand half of these freaking financial report things.
And you shouldn't,
so
be able to sell your
yeah. They helped us. They got us a marketing advisor. They gave us a grant to be able to redo our website and redo our labels and grow into a real company. So that's what we're figuring out. We're figuring out how to sell it.
I do like your website. Very easy to use. I checked it.
Yeah, it worked out well.
Way better than the last version, that's for sure.
Awesome. What was the name of that grant-based program again, Vermont?
Farm and Forest Viability Program. They take like a certain number of farms every year, and it's like a 2-year program. And they actually helped connect us with the places where we got our loans to expand the business and stuff like that.
We just bought a second property last year before last. We, through the Vermont program, they connected us with some agricultural loan and financing people, and we were able to get a second property to sort of expand our production, and more importantly, we were able to build a commercial kitchen. So we have an FDA approved commercial kitchen now, which she produces all the products and so forth. So they've been incredibly helpful to try and keep a small business moving in the right direction,
You need
I got a question for you guys.
Sure.
You said earlier, you have 1.5 acres of workable land. Does that include the new land you got down the street, or is that, because it seems like that's more?
That's just what we farm on here.
Is the 1.5 acres there?
Technically, our field is about 1 3/4 acres, but so much of it is underwater so much of the year that we don't count it for production. But we're getting irrigation done this year, so hopefully we're going to claim back a little land.
I think we figured out we farm, like we have, what did we figure? About 1/4 acre of crops.
Total, yeah.
And then we have berries and we have fruit trees. Not that those produce anything.
And the pig pens.
So, yeah.
You must be planting seeds now, getting them started.
Yep, I'm on my third round of seeds. So seed starting, there's a lot to learn in seed starting. And I got to say, if it weren't for most of the farmers that I get like second amounts of all my seedlings from, we wouldn't eat. So it's hard.
There's a first round and then the second.
Yeah, it's hard to like start from scratch and start from seeds and do it in a way that really does get you all the way to vegetables. I'm getting good at it, but I'm still not good at many crops. I'm getting better at it. But now I know which crops that I suck at. And
what is it?
If she could stop being great at zucchini, that'd be fucking awesome.
I'll send you some zucchini recipes.
Getting tired of zucchini breaded muffins?
She kills it on zucchini and squash.
You got to do stuff with the flowers. The flowers are absolutely awesome. You dredge it with flour and fry them up. When you do your planting, how do you time it out? Do you go from the first frost, right? Yep. How many months before the first frost? Yeah.
So it depends on what you're growing. So like cold season crops, like spinach, kale, peas, brassicas, carrots can go in now, but they're not quite cold season. So there's certain stuff that'll germinate in the spring, like as soon as you can work your soil. I know people who already put their spinach seeds in the garden. I'm a little behind, but I have spinach seeds in trays growing right now. So I have spinach, cabbage, broccoli, kale, and like a handful of other things going as seedlings right now under lights. And then like this weekend, I'll start the really long ones. So tomatoes and peppers, those take a solid 8 weeks before you can put them out. And so those don't go out until after first frost, which here is June. So I go in waves. So 3-4 weeks ago, I started spring crops. This weekend, I'll start the 6 to 8 week germinating stuff like tomatoes and peppers. In another 2 to 3 weeks, I'll start the summer stuff, which only takes 4 to 6 weeks to germinate. And that's your cukes, that's your cucumbers. What goes out? I have lists on calendars. Cucumbers will go out in 6 weeks before June. Squash, winter squash, zucchini, all like your summery stuff.
Yeah.
So yeah, it all gets started in waves, and I've learned this the hard way. Again, like if you start them too early, your plants will be too big or too spindly. If you start them too late, they won't be big enough, and then you just won't get a lot of fruit. So
I'm not too late to start seeding right now? Like I have everything already, seeds and.
Do it.
No, right now
Like,
for
don't-
the spring stuff. Right now is the time.
Don't start your cukes yet. Don't start your winter squash yet. Don't start your zucchini yet. Like those cucurbit plants, don't start those yet.
Okay.
What about peppers, green peppers?
Peppers and tomatoes are right now. Peppers and tomatoes, those are nightshade plants, and they need like
Couple of months.
they need 6 to 8 weeks to get big enough.
And lights too, right? You need the ultraviolet.
Lights and heat. So if you cannot, you're not going to be successful if you start with like the sunlight from the window. Done that before.
Yeah.
They look good. The thing is, they're like, look, they're growing, but they're not growing in a way that they'll even be able to stand up when you put them out there. They'll die.
Good to know. Very good to know.
And then heat for the summer stuff, that makes a huge difference. So the first year I did it go ahead.
What temperature would be ideal for that? Like you said.
So it's pretty low. So we actually we have a DIY seed heater that we figured out, which is really cheap. And we take 1.5 inches of blue board, right? And we take bright white LED rope lights. And we just thread the rope lights on top of the insulated board.
Yeah.
And you can put trays right on that, and it keeps them warm enough.
Oh.
Don't spend 20, 30, 50, 80 bucks on those silly seed heaters. Heating mats.
Just the 1.5 inch blue insulation, carve a channel out for the rope, like the Christmas
I don't even
rope
do that
lights,
anymore. Yeah.
and
It
just
work.
put the trays right on.
Right
It'll
on.
keep them just warm enough. Yeah.
You just saved me from a trip to Amazon too, because I just want to try
It's way
whatever you have, you know.
And our lights, we just get like Home Depot. What are those shop
Just
lights?
like the shop, 4-foot shop lights.
Get yourself a plain old. We have plastic shelves, and you can just hook the shop lights from the shelves on a chain, so you can move the shop lights up and down as you need it. And then your hot season crops, so that's your tomatoes, your peppers, your cukes. When you get there, those can go on your DIY seed heater. That whole thing together is plenty cheap versus if you actually bought plant lights and a plant growing thing and the plant seed heaters. That stuff is expensive.
People were growing this stuff way before Amazon.
Yeah.
There's smart ways to do it on the cheap.
And put your lights on a timer, just your cheap old timers from Aubuchon's.
I'm doing 12 hours and 12 hours, 12 hours on, 12 hours off. That about right?
Yep.
Okay. And on a timer. Awesome. Good to know. I'm glad I didn't miss the tomato seed starting. And that's my project with my girls tomorrow.
Get it done tomorrow.
Yeah, we got a bunch of work to do outside tomorrow, and then we're going to clear the table off. I'm going to break out the soil, and we got the seed starting soil, and I got a bunch of egg crates, and we're just going to go to town, and I'll stop down in my basement and grab everything I need to make the heater and everything. That's awesome. I'm glad we talked.
Awesome. Nice.
Too, rain balance.
How old are they?
What's that?
How old are your kids?
9-year-old, and I have a 6-year-old. Yeah,
nice.
My 9-year-old, she actually turns 9 on Sunday, so Sundays are.
I gotta say, our boys. This is probably the first year that our boys have not had to seed anything, but our boys know how to seed. They know all kinds of.
Our boys know how to butcher chickens.
Yeah.
Our boys, whether they'll continue to do it when they're adults is up to them, but they know how to take care of themselves. They know how to do stuff now.
They know how to make pickle. They know how to make applesauce. They know how to seed plants. They know how to.
Yeah.
Do you mind if we swing back to the mushroom business real quick?
No, anything you want, man.
The different types that you grow and what their intended medicinal purposes are. So basically, I guess can you run us through your inventory?
Yeah.
I'm gonna let you go. We deal with like 7 different medicinal mushrooms, and I'll let Karen quickly sort of highlight them.
So Brian cultivates lion's mane, cordyceps, and shiitake, and we just got our first spores to start cultivating reishi. So that's exciting.
We'll be growing reishi soon.
For wild harvested, we have turkey tail, we have reishi, which here is the local, it's Ganoderma tsuge. We have maitake.
Chaga.
We have chaga.
That would be
and artist conch, but I don't work with artist conch, which is Ganoderma applanatum. I don't work with it too often anymore, but we have it tinctured on the shelf.
So give them a, like a 60-second of what each one is renowned for.
So of course there's an FDA allowed version and a non-FDA allowed version.
Right.
Yeah, we want to hear the non-FDA allowed.
Yeah. All right. So, all right. Cordyceps, amazing for energy, oxygen uptake, lungs. So it helps your body to better and more efficiently uptake and utilize oxygen. So if you can imagine, oxygen does a lot of stuff in your body. It's great for kidney health. And it has actually been studied with libido and infertility. So like sperm health, sperm counts, things like that. All medicinal mushrooms across the board are really great for your immune system. So they're beta-glucans, which are the polysaccharides that are in the mushrooms and in their cell wall. Really long chain polysaccharides, but when we process the mushrooms with heat and the way we process them, we break those down into the big buzzword for mushrooms are the beta-glucans. Basically, they stimulate your digestive system in a way that makes it think that there's like a pathogen there. And so it just sparks up your immune system. It modulates it because sometimes it will calm your parts of your immune system down. And sometimes it will rev parts of your immune system up. And so, when you talk about mushrooms being from another world, like they kind of are, like they
kind of know the situation, which is really bizarre.
So, and again, because of that, mushrooms have been very well studied with things like cancers and things like that. They don't cure your cancer. Mushrooms do not cure anything. What they do is they support your body and its natural processes. That's what a lot of natural medicines do. They're not this magic potion necessarily, but like, if you step up to the plate, they'll step up to the plate kind of thing. So chaga is really great for like digestive issues. Chaga is, I gotta say, chaga is an at-risk species. So chaga grows, medicinal chaga only grows on species. Really, really long. What the concern is basically everybody running out there and hacking off the chaga and damaging the trees and taking too much and stuff like that, because a little goes a long way. And now, mushrooms are booming and you find stuff like chaga in everything. Everything. And so, it's definitely a concern that, everyone, we get people showing up all the time asking to sell us chaga. And it's like, no, we have very, very specific people we work with. We know why they're harvesting, in what manner they harvest.
And that's why we extract it into tinctures so we can make the most use.
Yeah.
And so we can get that, whatever that amount of chaga is, out to the most people. We won't just.
And we go in waves of whether we offer it or whether we don't. It's kind of this moral ethical thing, but So reishi is known as the mushroom of immortality.
Chaga. I have a friend who has Crohn's. Would it help with that? Crohn's?
I cannot give any direct advice.
All right. That's fine. So anyway,
I can say that I have worked with a couple of people who have had incredible improvement in digestive issues really quickly with Chaga Tea. So
check it out. No.
It's worth trying. Let's say that.
Why
It's
not?
definitely worth trying.
So reishi
will do no harm, and that's the
it will
most
not do
important
any
thing.
harm. Yeah.
None of these things will harm you in any way, and they may or may not help you.
Yeah.
But they may.
Yeah, reishi is great for a lot of things. Inflammation in particular, like it actually helps to block antihistamines. Great with like arthritic conditions, joint issues. Reishi is
blood pressure.
It does help. It can help to gently lower blood pressure. Let's see. Reishi does so many things. It's known as an adaptogen, so it helps your body like respond to stress. It protects your liver.
Ancient civilizations held reishi very, very sacred, and it was it was completely kept for the upper echelon, the emperor, and it was highly prized, and for a good reason, and for thousands of years.
Maitake, and then all of these over in China and Japan, and like Thailand and places like that, but mostly China and Japan, they've been really, really studied, and they've actually been developed into like cancer drugs. Fractions of the different mushrooms, but they've been developed into cancer drugs, which is pretty cool. Maitake, shiitake, oyster mushrooms, all fantastic for your metabolism and helping your body to control blood sugar. None of these are substitutes for the medication you're on. Although I am working with one person who wanted to get off his low dose of cholesterol medication and is working with his doctor. His doctor's like, yeah, let's try this all together. So he's going to let me know in a few months how it's working out. But good for blood sugar, cholesterol. Again, will not fix it, but will help your body in natural ways to control it.
Which one was that one again?
Maitake, shiitake, and reishi are all, and oyster are all super helpful.
Okay.
And they, it's interesting. It's kind of cool too, because each of them has a different chemical pathway that does it. Reishi and oyster mushrooms have basically what's known as lovastatin. That's like the original. That's where like Merck got the original compounds, was in like reishi and red yeast rice and oyster mushrooms, which traditional herbalists and people like that knew. People before us are way smarter, so they knew that it helped for stuff like that. But trying to think of that's probably good. So lion's mane is fantastic for cognitive function, cognitive support, digestive support. It has been shown in lab mice studies to help regrow the myelin sheathing on your neurons in your brain. Again, mice studies are definitely not quite human studies, but when you pair some of the scientific data with what people are seeing, in use. So that one's really great for the nervous system, cognitive function, and stuff like that. So, and there's, it's cool because they're all similar, but then each of them have these like their own special
powers.
They're superpowers.
They each have their own superpower.
That's a great way to put that.
It really is. Thank you.
So they're especially during our times, and especially the winters and stuff, if you're not taking a medicinal mushroom, you're not being kind enough to your immune system.
It's an easy way. It's an easy, no harm way to boost your immune system.
I think we're about to see the medicinal use of mushrooms explode. That's just my foresight from following sort of a health and wellness community that's surrounded by, I don't know if you've heard of companies like On It. Basically, exercise companies that are into like kettlebells and this sort of alternative to the Globo gym are all pushing the use of these mushrooms and different paths to get into to obtain optimal wellness. And I think you guys are pioneers right at the start of it. And I think it's absolutely awesome.
It's been cool. It's definitely been cool.
This was an article came out in National Geographic last year that said it's currently a $50 billion a year industry, and most people have never heard of it yet. So we feel like we're right at the sort of the forefront of people recognizing mushrooms as being ancient and purposeful and healing, you know? And we don't expect to be, I mean, I don't, we have no vision of being a huge company. We're pretty well known in Vermont. We're trying to get well known outside of New England. We currently, I'm not even sure how it's going on. We have a promotion on our website right now where people want to sign up and give your email address. You can get one of our products free. We're giving away 100 samples.
First 100 people,
First 100 people that sign up get a product free, and then there's a way to get a second product free. And
if you can go to your local web, like it's interesting the number of different places that carry mushrooms. Like there's CBD places that do. There's even like
health food
places, co-ops, a lot of different places, natural stores. We have a place in Montpelier, Aeromed. She does aromatherapy. So if you can get us the name of a wellness buyer at a local place close to you, and or like give them our empty bottle or whatnot and ask for our product, we'll send you a second free.
So we're trying to stretch outside of Vermont right now, but
these are our guerrilla marketing tactics. Because
this was perfect timing then, because you guys are looking to push the business. We wanted to get you guys on the podcast to talk about a little bit of homesteading, a little bit about mushrooms, and finally get to meet the people that grew those lion's manes that I loved so much. I hear Mark talking about you guys, and we've been wanting to connect with you for a while. We'll wrap it up. I don't want to keep you guys too much longer. I know it's a Friday night and you guys want to hang out.
Honestly, you're not keeping us from anything. If whatever. If there's any other topics you guys want to cover.
Worcester, Vermont gets crazy on Fridays.
We're not in a hurry. This is a huge, exciting night in Vermont.
Yeah. I mean, if you have more questions, we're happy to keep going. It's totally up to you.
I think I got everything I was really looking to accomplish as far as like questions and learning about the business. And we really want to help you guys get your name out. So, we'd like to mention your company on the show and all that. And, we just want you to keep doing what you're doing, and we love it. I love this neuroimmune that I got. I love that. What I heard about every single mushroom that you mentioned is in this right here. When I put
the website,
I'll link your website in it.
PeacefulHarvestMushrooms.com.
Oh yeah, I got it right here on the second screen. So yeah,
we're on Facebook too, and we're out there. We're not great marketers. We're just trying to carve an abnormal path through this fucked up world.
I want to help you with that though too. We know a bunch of people in the podcast world too that do this, that are way bigger names than we are. And I'd love to
connect you with them.
Yeah, what I'll do is when I post this up, I usually put it on Twitter. I don't usually put it on Facebook because for some reason I can't stand Facebook. We'll if you're on that, we'll tag you guys. If not, we'll hashtag the business and I'll tag a bunch of podcast friends that we have, and hopefully we can get you out on some more podcasts, getting the word out, because I firmly believe that, what he said, mushrooms are not of this world, and I really think that they're here to help, and yeah, it's awesome.
Yeah, but I mean, even beyond that, man, just kind of spreading the message of people becoming a little more self-sufficient, even if it's just a 10-foot square garden in your backyard, or 4 chickens or whatever. Just people reconnecting with food is as important as what we're doing on the mushroom side as well. It's just people need to understand that we're not that far connected. I mean, back in the 1920s, 30s, 40s, people raised their own food, and you got eggs from your neighbors, and that's the way life was. And we got trained out of that in less than 2 generations.
And it's so true.
For convenience and profit.
For convenience and profit. That's it.
My grandfather tells me stories, my grandfather, that when he was a kid, like 10, 12 years old or something like that, he worked in a local grocery store, and he grew up in Lawrence. And his job in that grocery store was to get the chickens, kill them, and feather them so that they could, sell the chickens in that market. And you go through Lawrence now, you're not finding any chickens.
That's it. I mean, that wasn't 500 years ago. That was our grandparents,
Right here in our town in Salem, New Hampshire, we have zones set up. And where I am, the town tells me that I can't have chickens. I might just put my finger up and get some chickens in my backyard because I want the eggs, but I also want to fight it so that I do it legally too. You know what I mean? Within the confines of...
fight it legally and fight it as an anarchist too. Just get the chickens, let them raise the stink, let them take the chickens, and then you're going to have everybody that loves PETA on your side in town too, because they took your chickens, man.
It's people don't understand what they don't know either.
Right.
And so people have this, and there's a balance. Like, would I raise a pig in town? No, they smell. Like it's sort of, there's a give and take there, but
but having a half dozen egg layers in your backyard is not only harmless, but it's beneficial to your lawn, man.
We don't have ticks around.
Gets rid of ticks. I was just going to say that. That's huge.
We don't have ticks around our property.
There's no ticks.
There's plenty of ticks, across the street as soon as where our chickens don't roam. But honestly, other people just find my grandfather, my stepfather came to visit, and they thought we were crazy, but he is so happy to sit and watch the chickens. It's hysterical.
He'll sit for hours and just
he's delighted by the chickens. And then there's eggs, So I think the more that people can see, A, people trying to be self-sufficient, and B, that, it is not what you think it is.
You don't need a whole lot. We've got 9 chickens right now. I've got 6 dozen eggs sitting in my mudroom uneaten, and I have 2 teenage boys. So we go through eggs, but I got 6 dozen piled up right now, waiting for somebody to come by and trade or buy them or whatever. But you don't need a whole lot of chickens to have a healthy supply. They lay an egg every damn day.
I like that whole idea, like that everyone trades with each other, and it's kind of like that. What do you call like agorism mentality, or is it?
Yeah, it's agorist and agorist.
Yeah.
We're still learning about that.
But you're kind of working together. Like you get the chicken eggs. Well, this person has cows that gets you milk and stuff like that, and you trade. I think we need more of that.
It's really cool because everybody has something that they want, and most people have something that they can give. And it's been cool for our kids to watch this too, because it's, some people you'll barter based on truly the value of what the thing is. Like, what can I sell this for retail, right? And it's funny because you figure out the barter when you start talking to people, like what kind of people are. But like, we know when we barter with someone in town works at a famous cheese place that the cheese is unbelievable. It's won world cheese competitions, but they trade it when we have extra asparagus. And I always found this is asparagus. And they are so happy to have fresh asparagus.
but it's almost because we got so much asparagus last year, it was almost worthless to us, and they were giving us literal award-winning cheese from the farm that he works at.
But they have it all the time in his house.
That cheese meant nothing to him. The asparagus meant nothing to us, and both of us thought like we were stealing from each other. You know what I mean? That's that. But you have to develop that too. That's not going to happen organically just because you have something. You need to develop that network of people around you that are interested in participating in that. I was listening to your earlier podcast, and there was people setting up like, the local swap, where people were coming together with things that they created and made, and you guys, I forget the details of how it worked, but basically that's what we have, but just organically out in the community. It doesn't necessarily come together on a specific night each month. It's just when we have eggs, we tell people we have eggs. When we have this, or when somebody else has something, but you gotta kind of work for that network.
You know what else is cool I've found over the years is that sometimes you're getting the raw end of the deal, like but it doesn't matter. And it's funny because when you have the right groups of people you're connected with, that the next time you guys go to barter something, you're going to put up, and it's unsaid. Like, you look at each other. Actually, what people will say when the barter isn't quite even, are you sure about that? Are you sure about that? Yeah, no, it's all good. And you're like, all right. And that all right means I'm going to get you when I can get you next time.
We'll square it.
We'll square it next time, because I know.
And they will.
And you know that if you didn't, it would be okay too, though, right?
Right.
Like,
it's a whole.
We give away a lot here. I mean, we live on a road that gets a lot of cars past it, and we just, whenever we have extra equipment or old shelves or grills or whatever, you put it out there. Somebody needs it more than the town dump needs it. So you just try to recycle things through the community as much as you can. Your trash is somebody else's treasure is sort of the attitude.
The grill we just put on the road that our neighbor down the road picked up, we got used from someone in the other part of town for $50, except it was worth way more than $50 when we got it.
But
that's, this grill now has been to 3 places,
at least 3 different homes in this community. So that's just part of being connected. You can't be an island. You got to be connected.
Have you guys heard of Freedom Cells? Freedom Cells, I think it's either .org or .com. So it's a social network of sorts, and it was set up by this guy Derek Rose, who's a big activist within the anarchist movement. And the guy is, in my opinion, just completely intelligent, brilliant, and what he set up was absolutely unbelievable. And it's basically a virtual version of what you were talking about, but that virtual version can easily be transcribed into real life and local. So you set up your Freedom Cell, and other people from your area search you out through keywords and find you, and it could be somebody who knows how to pickle, and there's somebody who knows how to make great kimchi, and somebody who knows how to sew, and somebody who knows X, Y, and Z. And you all kind of meet together and do exactly what you're talking about in your neighborhood. So it kind of, it's like the 21st century way of doing it. You guys should look into setting something up there, and you may get people from surrounding communities too, and just grow it into something.
So it's already set up. It's been set up for a long time in Montpelier. It's called Onion River Exchange. It's years old. There's like a point bank or a time bank, and based on what skill you have, you could be a carpenter and say, hey, I got this many hours carpenter work. I'm looking for this thing. And that can facilitate a 3-way trade too. Like, okay, I'm going to give you carpenter work. You're going to give him the pottery. He's going to give me that thing.
That
So it's like you
lawnmower,
put in what
yeah.
you're looking for, you put in what you have available. If you want to just do cash and go in there and pay somebody for that skill, you can. But yeah, that's
Vermont's already
That's what we need to get back
Is-
to.
Is
because
Free Cycle big up there?
Whatever is what?
Free Cycle, do you guys use that up there?
I didn't hear.
cycle.
Free Cycle.
Everybody. So we have something called Front Porch Forum.
Oh, okay.
And so, yeah, Front Porch Forum, every town has their own little like town email list. And anything you want to give away, anything you're looking for, anything you want to sell, anything you want people to know about.
Anybody's pigs that got loose, anybody has cows
Okay.
running up the highway, that's
yeah.
sort of local.
Things like, hey, somebody dropped an entire toolbox off the back of their truck, and it was like, hey, found a toolbox on Route 12. Anybody know whose this is?
Right.
Or, you know, hey, saw a suspicious car driving up in such and such a place. But yeah, anything free or that you're looking for payment or free seeking.
I've been using Free Cycle since I lived up in Somersworth, and I switched my location here. There's only 2 other users in town, so it's not as active as it was. But great thing to just put up like your garbage that you just don't want to send it to the dump. Someone shows up, takes it, and you say goodbye to it. So I didn't know if that was a big org up there.
That's how we found our grill.
Yeah, Vermont has their own version of it, though. I find when I learn about things in Vermont or things that we're finding out about, like sustainability and the homesteading and whatnot, Vermont's already ahead of the curve on it. Years and years.
How many here, dude? We got like 700,000 people in the entire state.
Yeah,
there's no here. It's awesome.
I'm hoping this year. I know you guys are pretty far away from it, but Brattleboro has the strolling of the heifers again. I'm looking to get over there for that.
You were supposed to vend at the strolling.
I vended at so the strolling of the heifers is way more than just the strolling of the heifers. Like they started this entire town. It's an organization called Strolling of the Heifers, and they support local really well. They have like four different event things. We vended there last Christmas. In there, they like actually have a spot, but they do a lot of stuff there. It's a really cool group that puts on a lot of different activities and events and connects like local suppliers and
lots of local vendors, local makers.
Yeah.
Now, what about crypto? Are you guys using cryptocurrencies up there at all, or is everything still based on cash? Cash is king.
Still based on hiding it under my mattress, dude.
Vermont, we're even still into checks.
Really?
Mostly because everyone here knows if I pay you by check, you don't have to pay the bank a fee.
Yeah.
Yeah. People like checks here.
Cash and checks, like.
We're gonna buy the checks.
Yeah.
We're gonna buy the checks.
Yeah, they're dirt cheap off like Vistaprint and stuff like that. But yeah, a lot of people will ask you. I have people ask me all the time, how would you prefer to be paid? I prefer cash or check.
Do you foresee maybe cryptocurrency moving up in that area or becoming more prevalent in self-sufficient communities like yours?
I don't necessarily.
That seems like a no.
Again, it's about cash, check, and what do you physically have?
Yeah, that's
more like.
That gets the twinkle in my eye, is what do you physically have in the bartering system? That's very interesting.
It's like pure liberty.
Interesting. Yeah, I have something. Do you have something that I want? I have something that you may want.
I trust cryptocurrency like I trust the stock market. You accept it for what it is, and don't be really surprised when it all bottoms out. Literally, the stock market crash in 2008 is what initially got us even talking and discussing and thinking about changing our lifestyle and maybe extracting ourselves a little bit from capitalism to the extent that we could. You know, the retirement accounts took a beating, man, and it proved then how volatile and weak and
vulnerable
it is to events that you have no control over. And it's happened a couple of times since then in a minor way, and it's inevitably going to happen again. So to think that crypto is a solution to that, maybe, I don't know enough about it and I'm not invested in it, but I don't trust any of my currency on any digital blips and bloops on a computer anymore.
Yeah.
It's what I have and what I can make and what can I produce and what can I physically put my hands on in the next month if things go tits up.
Yeah, that's a good way to put
liquid.
That, because it's the
I
thing
feel
is,
better liquid.
As cool as the technology, and I don't know very much about crypto either. I've listened to a couple of podcasts, but as cool as the technology is, and as brilliantly secure as the technology is, somebody is still fucking manipulating it on the levels of things like stock markets and whatnot, and values and whatnot. And the thing I think we've, or at least I'll speak for me, that I've been able to wrap my head around is what is the purpose of money, and truly what's the value of it, because you can't fucking eat it. It's, if you don't have access to a doctor, it doesn't matter how much currency you have. If you don't have clean water, it doesn't matter how much currency you have. And what I can see is that the problem is the money is supposed to be a tool to facilitate movement of goods and resources, that it's supposed to be a tool, and it has become what you're supposed to desire and the be all end all, and as much of it as you can, except that totally loses what the hell it's supposed to do in our world. And, the way we live, it just brings us really back to what's the value of the thing. It doesn't matter whether it's $1. It doesn't matter whether it's a cryptocurrency. It doesn't matter whether it is a bag of freaking mushrooms. I can do more with a bag of mushrooms though. And I like it most when we get the whole dollar out of the bartering thing. I mean, those are the best, funnest, most enjoyable exchanges we have, period. So it just really, it brings it back down to what is the value of things. And especially the way the world's going, money is like valueless if you actually think about it.
Money isn't real. Money is make-believe. Money is make-believe. Money is make-believe. And you got to understand that money it's a tape measure. It's a make-believe tape measure, and they keep reinventing the rules.
Yeah.
And we're not subject to those rules. Those rules are always exclusively for the people that have way more money than us to worry about.
Yeah.
It's all make-believe. The government will create or take away as much of it as they want to. So whether it's to our benefit or our detriment, we kind of don't worry about accumulating piles of it, because it could all be meaningless the next day anyway. We just want to focus our efforts on building some sort of a sustainable lifestyle, that whether it's COVID or another war that we get into, or whatever the next pile of bullshit is that they lay on us, that our family and the people around us can sort of react and cope and deal with that. And how many zeros we have in our bank account don't make a damn bit of difference if you can't get into the grocery store to buy toilet paper. It's kind of all becomes silly at that point,
Well, that's why it seems like it's better that you guys have this bartering system and everything. The people that are living in Boston that rely on, hey, this is $10 and I got to pay it in cash, as opposed to, I can't trade you this for that instead of $10. If all the shit goes down, you guys are in a way better shape. You have a separate community of people that can work together
right. And when you think about that community, it's like we have people who have the ability to get piglets, when you're like, I'll raise a pig. Well, last year at the beginning of COVID, we had a really hard time finding piglets. Butchers, you name it, even just a tractor, thankfully we don't, sorry, Brian, we don't have a tractor.
Oda.
I deserve a tractor. I want to go on record right now, publicly.
Around the world.
I want to speak to the whole world right now and explain that I've been at this 10 years tractorless. I deserve a tractor. Even a piece of shit. I'll take a $5,000 70-year-old diesel piece of shit. I deserve a tractor. Mark will back me up.
It's on the list. That's all I can say. But we have a good friend who
I have friends with tractors. I deserve a tractor. I put in my hours.
I agree. Let's get you a tractor.
Everybody agrees.
Everybody agrees except for her. Eventually, I'm going to get my tractor and I'm driving it everywhere.
Awesome. I hope to get up there and sit shotgun with you.
If you guys ever want to come up this summer
absolutely.
and check, when travel's good, you guys want to come up
Always
and check out what we're doing. We live a very open existence here. Let us know if you ever want to do a travel cast.
As the time gets closer, we may take you up on that offer, and we'll look and see what's up there for lodging and whatnot, and let's get together and take a look at the farm and take a look at the mushroom growing. I would love to see that. Absolutely.
Now, how many people live in your town, roughly?
962, I think.
962.
You know all of them.
And we know, they all know who we are, though.
They know us.
No, but I have to say, from the day we moved here, I can say from the day we moved here, I knew more people here than I did living for 10 years in town Dover.
That's true. I didn't know my next door neighbors in Dover at all. Never met them. I met them when a tree fell over and broke our communal fence. That was the one time I met my neighbors.
Now, moving from New Hampshire into Vermont, did you get any flack from the locals or anything like that? Was it tough to try and fit in, or were they very welcoming?
Oh my God, they were amazing.
Yeah.
We got more flack from the people in New Hampshire that telling us we were going to, places with just uneducated people. We have found there are some of the freaking smartest, most skilled people in Vermont. It's unbelievable. And you name it, like in our town, there's a person who runs Mountain Song Expeditions. They are like an Appalachian outdoor trainer, and does mounted archery and they know how to a wilderness survival. Their neighbor does the computer models for wildfires for the government. He does all the computer modeling for all the wildfires in the country.
Like predicting them.
Like
some pretty genius people.
Like predicting them, like patterns of
yeah. He creates codes for the models that predict where the wildfires are going to go, and
he's the dude.
He's cool.
No regret.
Got another friend there's another friend here that's grown a huge maple sugar operation up the road from us. He's grown it from a few hundred taps to I think over 5,000 taps over the past few years. And
he hand built, like logged his trees, did the logging,
Dragged the
hand-built
logs
his
with
stuff.
horses out of the woods.
And it's the most gorgeous place you've ever seen. But
It's
actually,
amazing. We know
Yeah.
multiple people with farms and CSAs, and there's so many hardworking people that go unrecognized outside of their own communities.
Yeah.
When you kind of dig down into rural areas, it's nice.
Yeah.
It's nice. We feel like we discovered something and almost want to keep it secret, you know.
Well, it's not going to stay secret for too long because we're putting this.
Well, it will, because there's no property for sale here right now.
Really? What's property like up there? How are the taxes and all that stuff?
so that's a really good question.
That was a big transition.
I have been told over and over and over, and when you look at the statistics online, in theory, Vermont has like the second highest tax rate when you look at overall tax burden of the country. But from a person like living in the middle of it, I don't feel like that. I feel like when we paid over $10,000 in property taxes for a quarter acre in Dover, not to mention how much we paid for trash bags and
all the other services.
Okay, there wasn't income tax. I get that. And there wasn't sales tax, but I don't know. Online tells me that this is the highest tax place to live. But at the same time, like the services we get, you know, all kids under 18 are covered under health insurance. Like period. You don't even have to worry
about it. If they're under 18,
they're covered.
They have health insurance, period.
From the state. You know, and they have things like the farm viability program. They do a lot of grant programs for farms. So I guess from our perspective, you know, I don't mind paying taxes. You know, that's the theory of we're all in this together. We're going to pool our money and take care of everything. You know, I don't have a problem with that concept.
I don't feel overtaxed.
I don't feel overtaxed.
Vermont has a lot of consumption taxes, but you can gauge how much you consume. You know what I mean? You can regulate how much you pay in consumption taxes based on what you're buying. And we try to really lower the amount of everything that we have to buy by producing and bartering. So at least we have some level of control over that, and property taxes are just plain cheaper.
Yeah. We pay maybe $3,000 a year for 2 acres.
Yeah, wow. That was my question. Yeah, all the other stuff, you're going to get those taxes no matter what, no matter where you go.
Yeah, exactly.
So,
but we feel the moral is we feel happy about where what the state is giving us and where they're spending the funds. Vermont seems to have a very fair,
and it's not perfect.
It's not perfect, you know, by any means.
There's budget deficits and all that
fighting
stuff.
About pensions now. There's all kinds of shit going on.
Same shit everywhere.
But they take care of kids well. They take care of kids well, and they just take care of kids well.
Yeah.
They do. Yeah, they do pretty well. So I guess overall, like, I don't know. The internet says that we pay highest tax rates in the country. I don't feel like it. And I feel like there is a lot of stuff that the state invests in that seems to make a difference to people. So, you know.
And again, we totally understand we're dealing with a population of 700,000 people, not, you know, not 1 million people, 2 million, 10 million people. So it's a different environment.
I don't know. I know Salem, our town, has 33,000. You'd think it was 33 million with all the shopping and just crazy.
Yeah.
We're on the border, so everyone's coming up from Massachusetts to do the tax-free shopping. So it turns into.
You live in Salem?
Yeah, I'm in Salem. Yeah, both of us. Yeah. On that note, you know, I think this was awesome. I do need to cut it out now because my kids at home and my wife, she's probably pulling my hair right now. usually wrap them up about this time too. I really enjoyed meeting you guys.
Thank you.
One more time before we close out, where can we find you guys? We know on Facebook. What's the website?
Facebook, Instagram, and website is peacefulharvestmushrooms.com.
Awesome. And we'll link all that in the show notes. And Mark, thanks for bringing your beautiful self here. That was awesome.
I didn't bring much to the party, but it was good to hear it all over again.
We'll see you this summer, man. Yeah?
You will. Oh, yeah. We'll be up.
You got the place rented?
Oh, yeah. That's done. That was done when we left last year.
Nice. All right. Wait to see you this summer, dude. I love you.
All right. We'll see you guys later. Eric, nice to meet you. Bye, Matt.
Awesome.
Hey, nice meeting you, man.
Nice meeting you guys. It was good talking.
Bye-bye.
Bye. Talk to you soon.